Great stuff. Yes, good morning once again to everybody. Welcome on our YouTube platform to Business Express. Yeah, so two things to quickly jump on: oil and gas, and funny enough, public relations. On the oil and gas front, yesterday there was a press conference held by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timmy Silva. He was talking about the latest the latest pathway for the Petroleum Industry Act, which is to scrap the Department of Petroleum Resources, the pricing products, the PPR, the triple PRA, the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, and the Petroleum, I think it's the Petroleum Equalization Fund. Those have been, yes, the Petroleum Equalization Fund. They've all been officially scrapped and don't exist anymore per the Petroleum Industry Act. So they've been replaced with I think they did the official inauguration of the boards of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority and the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Authority Commission in Abuja. So they've been replaced. Now, the interesting thing is that the commissions no longer exist, but the employees have been protected according to the law. Because asking me, Priscilla, okay, so what's going to happen to the employees of all these agencies? And I think, is it not? I think it's Yinka. Yinka doesn't like the PPRA, for example. Him and somebody else. There have a number of people who have openly questioned what the Petroleum Pricing Regulatory Agency does. They're the ones who were supposed to put up the templates, to let us know how we arrive at the cost of fuel and so on and so forth. So, and so the Petroleum Industry Act has replaced all of them, but people have questions. For example, I remember interviewing someone who asked, why do we need a midstream and downstream regulatory agency? And then why do we now need an upstream regulatory agency? Why not just have one regulatory agency that oversees upstream, midstream, and downstream operations in the oil and gas sector? Why do you need two new agencies? Also, according to Timmy Silva, the CEOs, the leaders of those agencies have been removed. They've been relieved of their services, but the employees still remain, which means that the regulatory agencies, the new ones, regulatory commissions, will now take over and absorb those employees. Now, we've always talked about the fact that Nigeria has too many agencies and a bloated personnel costs. So I remember that President Buhari, when he came into office, he said he was going to replace a number of agencies and reduce them. He made some moves in that regard, but didn't really seem to make a dent in the personnel costs for the country. So, I mean, but that's pretty much the gist from the press conference that just happened yesterday. So once again, the Department of Petroleum Resources, the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, Petroleum Equalization Fund, they've all been scrapped. And the boards of the new regulatory commissions for upstream and also for midstream and downstream, those two separate new or regulatory commissions per the Petroleum Industry Act, they have now been inaugurated. So questions still remain about personnel costs, operations, efficiency. There you have it.
I mean, if we're going to very briefly review the pros and cons of this, decentralization, so to speak, separating them gives them the ability to, have a stronger foothold in a sense, and to actually work without meddling with other affairs. When you lump too many things into one spot, it gets confusing sometimes. So separating them in a sense can actually make them more effective. It's arguable, right? But retaining the personnel, I mean, how does that fulfill the purpose of, making a change or causing a change or affecting something new ideas, fresh?
I think the federal government, I mean, look, even it's my understanding that even at the NNPC, from what I hear, Kyari tried to get rid of staff at the refineries because the refineries aren't working, but yet the refineries are still paying salaries and overhead costs. He tried to remove people there, from what I understand, and he got pushed back from the top levels of government. So the Nigerian government, unfortunately, is still promoting inefficiency in a number of these agencies. So, it looks like so I think the point is that the government understands how badly the unemployment levels are in the country, and is trying to, as much as possible, maintain jobs. Why you always hear that so much of our recurrent expenditure goes to paying salaries, but you're doing your best to maintain jobs at a cost of paying more recurrent expenditure, and you're not very efficient. So shout out to the Nigerian retail investors. There's a WhatsApp group I'm a member of, and they've got, we look at stocks, we look at technology, sports, and a number of things. They recently celebrated Waziri Adio, who was the former executive secretary of the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NATI, and Dr. Yemi Kale, who is the former statistician general of the Bureau of Statistics. So they held, I was fortunate to be a part of that. They held a send-off party for the two of them, gave them plaques. They spoke a little bit about what it was like working in government. And I asked them about the highs, the lows, and what they plan on doing in the future. So the two of them are writing books, and I encourage everybody to pick up their books when they're ready. But when they talked about they talked about, they were proud to have worked for their countries, they were patriots and everything. But they had the same stories. These are two completely different agencies of government, but they had the same stories about issues with productivity and, attitudes of staff to change. So, so whether it's the DP or it's the same story. So Nigeria has an efficiency issue, it has a productivity issue, and keeping all these multiple agencies in place, it doesn't help.
It doesn't help because it's the same crop of people. I mean, people that rely on old ways of doing things, like pouring old wine in new wineskin and expecting the wine's taste to change.
Exactly.
Benga says, Rotus, Nigeria is resistant to change rather than downsizing those agencies of government to recruit secretly. So the personnel will be moved around the behemoth called NMPC. We are what we are. Thank you, Benga. Oyanochiko says, they should be paid off. Too many regulatory agencies, waste of resources. Olufemi says, no, Rotus, this is Olu. Please, I would like to join the WhatsApp group where we discuss stocks and investment.
We'll work on that.
It's not an open discussion.
Exactly. It's a closed group. It's a closed group, but no problem. I'll look into it. Yeah. Real quick. So that's on oil and gas. Yesterday's discussion, I didn't want to mention names, but in the end, everything is on Twitter now. On the marketplace in the afternoon, we talked more extensively. This episode with that couple that ran away with 22 billion naira and the companies that got dragged into it, it has shown that in 2021, you really need public relations, swift, quick, efficient public relations to maintain your corporate name in this country. If not, you'll be destroyed. I don't know why. So it turns out that I don't know why I didn't want to mention it, but Piggyvest is the company that I wasn't mentioning yesterday. A former employee who is now with another company openly tweeted that they don't have any microfinance bank license and that they're not licensed and they're just basically, depending on, I think they came off the back of a tier 2 bank and that's it. It's to the point where his employer had to come out on Twitter because people started tagging his current employer saying, why would he say a thing like this? This is off the back of that rumor that they lost a couple billion naira to the couple that ran away with, I think it's Imagine Global Solutions or whatever is the name of the company. So they quickly came out and denied it, but all of it, just the way the rumor just kept growing and a former employee who doesn't know what he's talking about and trying to put a company inside trouble just came out and said they don't have a license. It just shows there is, their public relations team was fast. They came out Sunday evening, but man, if you're not quick, social media can create you
can eat you up. I know that for sure. But Rotus, quick one. So yesterday, I came across a document that was published on the 11th of October from this Imagine Global that you mentioned yesterday. And while we were talking about it through the better part of yesterday, I thought to share this, and it's up now. So if you're watching on YouTube, you see this document as a shared screen. So they released these documents on the 11th of October 2021, preempting the non-payment of dividends that accrued to the investors.
Yeah.
And here it is. I read as I share. We thank you, our dear and valued investor, we thank you for the confidence reposed in us through your investment over time. We especially thank you and remain grateful for your support of Imagine Global Solutions in its quest to positively impact blah, 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 blah in the last 5 years. As we strive in the efforts to uphold any commitments to you, it has become most imperative at this time to inform you that some challenges and the plans to mitigate its effect of setback in our discharge of responsibility to your kind self. It goes without saying that these extraordinary times, the sites and SARS protests, the sites, COVID, the sites, other things, and insecurity, it's adversely impacted the rates of our performing lending to date, which accounts for over 50% or 60% of our business interest. Has also been adversely impacted by the rates of performing lending to date. And it says, regardless of the situation, in view of the premium placed on our relationship, as well as our reluctance to renege on our investment commitments to you, we continued paying interest returns as agreed to a huge cost to the business, leaving us significantly out of pocket. It said, thus, informing our forced constraints to temporarily hold on further interest payments for the next 6 months. As we structure operations for business stability in the interest of preserving our investment. So some are really saying in the next 6 months, please don't expect any dividends until everything dies down and the economy picks back up, and then we can pick up business. So I thought, in the interest of fairness, to share this document that I saw.
Yeah. Now, it's been clear that this company is fraudulent. In my group, we talk to people who have invested with them. You don't run away. You can put out a letter and tell people that there are issues. And if somebody sees a letter that says you're not paying interest for the next 6 months, that's going to be and raise alarm bells. But the moment the husband and wife who run the company skip town, that's fraud. That's fraud. I mean, you should be able to face people and tell them that this is
what it is. And everybody see you eye to eye. Yeah,
exactly. Very quickly, somebody sent me a message asking about Ancoria Asset Management, which is a subsidiary of VFD. If you go to their website, just to whoever sent me that question, they didn't leave a name. Yeah, they are regulated by the SEC. Just go to any new company, go to the About Us of the company on its website, check their regulatory stand. So they're regulated by the SEC to offer investments. They look legit. I don't think, again, always check what it is that companies offer you. Like this, imagine now doing, 10% per month, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Times it by 12, that's 120%. So that's ridiculous. So, but Ancoria I don't really looked at their products and services, but they look
here it is.
Yeah, as far as their, what is it called? Regulation is concerned, and I think it's wealth management services that they offer. So I haven't heard anything eye-popping to where they're offering this thing that sounds like it's out of this world. It's in line with what the stock market is doing, bonds, T-bills, and so on and so forth. But imagine at this point, is a fraudulent outfit, and I feel for anybody who lost money with them.
I thought it was a play on words when you say imagine. But anyway, thanks. Imagine that.